on a couple times a year for this because you know I love the draft. Let's start with this. Yeah. Aiden Hutchinson is perceived as the number one pick. You do not believe so. Who will be number one and why?
Aiden Hutchinson is my second-rated prospect in this draft, and I think he should be the first pick. But the guy who I am hearing is going to be the first pick is Trayvon Walker. And I think what you see here, Colin, is the idea of swinging for the fences, looking for a home run with a guy with great traits. You know, he's got the measurables. He's got the arm length and Trayvon Walker. He tested great at the combine. And I think there's an idea of what you don't know about him, right? Can he rush the quarterback, and projecting him as an outside rusher because he wasn't really asked to do that at Georgia. They kicked him inside. And so now I think there's an idea that you're going to cut him loose outside. And I think teams are generally more excited about betting on, the potential home run as opposed to playing the stand-up double like Aiden Hutchinson. And I love Aiden Hutchinson. I think he's going to be a solid NFL player. But honestly, I don't see any home runs in this draft. And that, whether it's defensive ends, whether it's quarterbacks, there's not a home run in this draft.
Yeah, by the way, what's the grading scale? Tell our audience the grading scale again. What is it?
Yeah, I think to make it real simple, a 7.0 is a Pro Bowl type player. A 6.7, 6.8 is a very good NFL starter right away, which I have for Aiden Hutchinson. And Trayvon Walker, I have in the 6.4s, which will be a good NFL starter. So I actually have Trayvon Walker, Colin, 15th in my own personal rankings because I struggle to project the pass rush that other people and guys I really respect like Daniel Jeremiah that they're able to see. So he's a bit of a polarizing prospect in some circles.
All right. I would take Malik Willis over Kenny Pickett because I think there's a certain physical attributes, the thick, big arm, downfield. I don't have a problem if he goes to, some organization, and whatever it is. If he sits behind Drew Lock for a year, good. I know Liberty's a big leap to the NFL. Give me the two quarterbacks. How do you view both? Who would you pick first?
Yeah, I think it really depends on who you are and what you want to do. If you're a team that doesn't have a whole lot, to me, Malik Willis is the guy that you look for because one thing that we know about quarterbacks who have rare ability to run with the football and make things happen with their legs is they can make up for a lot of sins along the offensive line. We've seen that with Russell Wilson, for years. And then the other thing they can do is even when they're not throwing the ball well, they can have a big impact on winning the football, winning a football game. The problem I have with Willis is his tape just wasn't good. I mean, made some really bad decisions, and he needs work. He needs to get more comfortable as a quarterback, I think, with a year under his belt. And I think, frankly, he needs more of a levels passing attack, more of a West Coast style than what we saw him use at Liberty. With Kenny Pickett, I think you can plug him in now. I mean, he's a today player as opposed to Willis being a tomorrow player. But I think the upside's a little limited. And I'll be honest, Colin, the productivity looked great, 42 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. But on tape, the issues with poise at times when he's in the pocket was really concerning to me because that doesn't always just get coached out of you. When you have poise issues, when the pocket gets a little noisy and sometimes you imagine pressure, that is something that doesn't always go away in the NFL.
Okay, so my steal of the draft, he's not going to go top 10, is the center Tyler Linderbaum from Iowa. So tell me if I'm out of my rocker, what do you see when you see him?
He's my 7th-ranked player in this draft. Wow. I had him falling out of the first round, but the only reason is because he's a zone scheme center. He's got short arms. He's not big. But listen, this is why you invented the phrase or why the phrase pound the table was invented. Because sometimes you have to go in there and raise your voice and say, I don't care about what he can't do. Let's talk about what he can do. He is an incredible athlete. He's incredibly tenacious. He is a bulldog once he latches on. He is an all-state wrestling champ, so he has great leverage and core power. And he just has the ability, I think, to play a consistent Pro Bowl caliber level of football. And I'm with you, Colin. I just think he has to get to the right scheme. But once again, you better focus more on what this guy's able to do, which is a lot, as opposed to some of the physical measurables that aren't going to fall into the categories that you want him to, because he is an excellent player. You came up with a good one there.
All right, so the other player I have a question with, and I just don't know, Drake London, USC wide receiver. I watched every snap in college. He was, it was not a good coaching staff, blah, blah, blah. It's a bad conference. He dominated Pac-12 corners. Those are not SEC corners. Those are not Big Ten corners. He doesn't separate. What do you make of him?
You stick him in the 2021 draft, and he is a second-round pick all day, every day. I mean, listen, I love the ball skills like everyone else. You and I probably see him the same. I don't see the separation. I don't see the speed. I think there's a reason he didn't run at any of the events that he had. You know, he didn't run at his pro day. I think the reason's simple. He's a build-up speed runner. He doesn't separate. He's not sudden. I don't think he's the same as DeAndre Hopkins, which some people are trying to make that comparison. I think what he is, the guy you throw it to him, and he's going to make plays on the ball on 50-50s. But I'm worried about the J.J. Arcega-Whiteside comparison. I think that's what you have to be concerned with. And I see him the same way as you. Listen, people are talking about this being this great wide receiver draft. 21 was a great wide receiver draft. 22 is not a great wide receiver draft. And I think what you have here, Colin, is a possession receiver. I think that's who he is. He's a solid possession receiver. Personally, I couldn't put a first-round grade on him.
Wow. By the way, I'm looking at your mock draft, Lance Erline's mock draft. Who is your best player? Who was your highest graded player?
I've got Kyle Hamilton, but I will tell you that some of the testing bothered me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think with Kyle Hamilton, what you're going to get is whoever takes him, they're going to have a plan for him. And if you play him the way that he's supposed to be played and you play him to his strengths, I think he is going to be a high impact safety. I would not take a safety with the first pick of the draft. But for me, Kyle Hamilton, Aiden Hutchinson are the first two off the board in terms of, my personal grading scale. And then below that, I'm looking at Evan Neal and Sauce Gardner, Ike Ekwonu, and then you get down to Kayvon Thibodeau.
So Kyle Hamilton is the Notre Dame safety. A long story, but he was at my house about a month ago. And the one thing I'll say about him, that dude carries weight. Because I asked him how much he weighed, and he said 220, and he looked like he weighed 195. And I was like, that guy, he is way bigger than you'd think in a T-shirt. Like some guys,
scouts,
he carries weight.
Well, I was going to say, scouts say he can carry 230. Colin, he can carry another. You saw it on his frame. He can carry another 10 pounds, no problem.
And he looks thin, and he'll probably carry 230. So smart kid.
Can I just say something to you before we go? My house has been in disarray. My 15-year-old son, Mason, ever since your All-NBA team came out and you had Julius Randle on the second team, my house has been in complete disarray because Mason is furious, and he demanded that I challenge you on why Julius Randle would be on second team All-NBA. So I want you to know I got enough on my plate with NFL draft stuff, and now I'm dealing with All-NBA second team selections.
Well, tell your son it's a long story.